Welcome to the College Football Show. It is the Week 7 picks against the spread and the game previews, the ones that you haven't already watched here on Unafraid Show, George Wrighster's College Football Podcast. We got to talk about all the games that are going on that matter in terms of the college football playoff and in the conference races. We have to talk about, I'm going to reveal my top 25 for this week and compare it to the AP poll. And then, of course, we got to talk about some of the news of the day, which what's going on in North Carolina feels like an absolute disaster. But I'm George Wrighster, former NFL player, former college football player, college football analyst over at CW, your boy bringing the truth in college football. College Football Explained simply and honestly, because people got slants all over the place. They got network partners and all this stuff. This is a place where you know you're going to come get the absolute truth. All right, so let's start with this Bill Belichick situation over at North Carolina. There have been so many reports that have come out about, that buyouts potentially going on. Parents are unhappy and preferential treatment. There's not enough meetings. There's not enough time going on and everything else. Well, here is what I understand about the situation, because I don't come on here guessing. That things are not going well in North Carolina. And this could be coming to a screeching halt real fast. And that between Jordan Hudson, between the Hulu documentary being canceled and the players, the product that they put on the field, it is horrible. Think about what Mac Brown did last year at North Carolina. He was 6-6. And then you have one of the boosters and Board of Regents people going above the AD to get Bill Belichick hired. And this is the problem in college football, because everybody wants to fire their head coach right now. Virginia Tech open, UCLA open, you got other jobs open all over the country. Everybody wants to fire their head coach. They're like, oh my God, we want Dan Lanning. We want Kirby Smart. We want all of these big name coaches. Well, let's look at the Dan Lanning hire that Oregon made. Dan Lanning was the defensive coordinator at Georgia. He was young. He had never been a head coach. So as a fan, can we stop clamoring for, head coaches that Urban Meyer? Oh, we got to go get Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer been out the game for a minute, and he's going to cost you a mint. So how about you do yourself a favor? Go get a young, hotshot assistant that's put in his time, that knows how to win, been a part of a winning program, or a G5 coach who may be willing to stay where you're at. If you invest in him, you invest in the program, and you give him his shot, and you can level up in the program. Because coaches, the guys that are my friends that I played with and against in college and the NFL, they all believe in one thing now. They believe that the next job is not the best job anymore. Where just because the logo seems a little bit better, that's not it. Look at Joey McGuire over at Texas Tech. Yes, is Texas a better logo? Yeah, historically. Oklahoma, yes. Is Alabama a better logo? Yes. But does Texas have better resources now than Texas Tech? No, they got multiple 5-star players committed in the next recruiting class and the recruiting class in 2027. Things are working out. So when you're looking at, who's going to be our next head coach? Oh, let's go steal Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma. Bring him over to USC. You got to pay him a mint, and things aren't working out, and there are USC people that want out, but you can't get out because you're handcuffed to them. Look at what's happened at Penn State. Things aren't working out there. You're handcuffed to the coach. But the reality is that there are plenty of really good assistants who will do a fantastic job. Maybe Brian Hartline at Ohio State. He's been around a winter. He knows how to recruit, and he may be willing to stay if you give him that job. Maybe a guy like Hines Ward, who has not been a coordinator, but he's down at Arizona State, a champion, a leader of men, and knows how to do it, and is willing to play by the rules. What's the issue with that? Instead, we want a bigger, better deal, and we think that just because the newest shiny object is there, that's the right option. Oh, we don't want an unproven head coach. Well, then you don't want Dan Lanning because he was unproven. All right, let's get to the games. We're going to start with the Red River rivalry, Red River shootout, whatever you want to call it. Oklahoma versus Texas. This game is happening in the Cotton Bowl Saturday, 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern time on ABC. Texas is favored in this game by 2.5 points. And this is for that golden hat trophy, that coveted golden hat trophy. Now, the last 4 times that Oklahoma has won this game, it's been a one-score game. And the last 2 times Texas won this game, it's been belt to ass from jump to the end. And last year was one of them times because Texas won the game 34-3. Michael Hawkins Jr., who may get the start this week, was actually getting the start for the Sooners for an injured Jackson Arnold, and he was a true freshman. Now, this time, you have John Mateer, who may or may not be playing in this game because he's recovering from hand surgery. Now, you got the Chipotle guy, and if you don't know who I'm talking about, after you finish watching this, Google Chipotle guy and John Mateer, and you will get it because, it's a message board thing where a message board guy says that he was at Chipotle and he heard some things and all of this, and he believes that John Mateer is playing. Nobody actually knows because Oklahoma is practicing in their indoor facility, and you had Brent Venables give a very interesting statement about John Mateer. He said he hasn't taken any good on good reps, so who knows? He might be taking good on good reps today because that was yesterday. Now, that game last year was only the first time a true freshman has ever started for Oklahoma in the rivalry. And while it didn't go well, he might be getting another shot in this game. Because in Mateer's absence last week, Hawkins completed 14 for 24 passes, 162 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He also ran for 33 yards and a score on 9 carries. But more importantly, he did not turn the ball over. Now, on the other side of things, you got Arch Manning, because he's the storyline that sucks all the oxygen out of the room. You got the Athletic/New York Times article calling him first college football flop of all time. First of all, he hasn't flopped yet. And number 2, he wouldn't be the first one. You know how many 5-star quarterbacks don't work out, at least at their first stop, and sometimes none at all? Like, this is the peak of clickbait. Because, yes, it was easy to predict on some level because I'm one of the people that said this may not go well for Arch Manning. And because he needed to get acclimated to the smoke. He didn't get the smoking in high school, didn't go to Elite 11, didn't compete against other top quarterbacks, and he was anointed the number 1 prospect in the country when for other players to receive that accolade, they have to actually they have way more data on them against other players. And you look at in this game last year, Quinn Ewers was sacked on his first drop back and then threw a pick on his first pass attempt. And after that, he avoided the Oklahoma pass rush and was 20 for 28 for 199 and a touchdown. Now, the unfortunate thing for Arch in this situation is that he could go out there and have the same stat line and win, and it won't be enough. Because at some point, somebody's going to have to answer for the hype that came from Rivals and 247, called him the number 1 prospect in the country, if we're being honest. But the truth is, his last name don't throw touchdowns. But what Oklahoma has done this year, they didn't have last year. And that is a consistent defense. The Sooners are second in points allowed per game with 7.2 points per game. That's all they are giving up. 7.2 points per game. And they already have 50 tackles for loss with 5 different defensive linemen having at least 3 each. And last year's Texas, they rolled their running back Trey Wisner to victory. But that ain't going to be possible this time around with the way that Oklahoma's defense is playing. So it's going to be vital to Texas's success. But which version of Arch are we going to see? The one that got sacked 6 times at Florida, threw 2 fourth-quarter interceptions, or the one that hit Ryan Wingo to keep the game alive and give Texas a chance at the end? In this game, I am going to pick the Oklahoma Sooners plus 2.5. I don't care if John Mateer plays. John Mateer doesn't play. This Oklahoma defense is going to travel. It is going to give Arch Manning fits. And as long as Oklahoma can move the football to not get put in short fields for Texas, they're going to win this football game. All right, let's go to the next game. We got Michigan versus USC. Now, this game takes place 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern time on NBC. And USC is favored by 2.5 points in this game. And USC won this game in 2023 and in 2003 and 2006 to make the all-time series 6-6. Now, Michigan's head coach Sharon Moore, he's been talking a little bit of trash before this game. So it actually makes it a lot more fun because I love it. I love when the coaches, when they talk that ish and then they go back it up. Because there's a lot of people who are scared to don't give them any bulletin board material. And the Coliseum, which is a dead environment at times, is going to be sold out for this Michigan secret. And it is no secret that joining the Big Ten has helped them fill this stadium. Because last year, USC had 3 sellouts at the Coliseum in the same season for the first time. Think about this. For the first time since 2012. And that was Penn State, Nebraska, and Notre Dame. And Sharon Moore made it known who he believes that the fans are coming to come see. He said it's sold out, but it's sold out because Michigan's coming. And he also added that it isn't about taking selfies at the Coliseum. And there's truth to that. And USC fans have been upset with me where I've said that they're fair weather. They're not as loud. The Coliseum is not that huge of a home field advantage. But if you want your college football program to be great, USC, this is an area that you have to start to excel in. It is. And your boy's playing hurt today. They're under the weather a little bit, so bear with me. And now that part might be going a little bit too far because kids do take selfies at gas stations. Do you think that they're not going to have their phones out in the house that Reggie Bush built? Now, Michigan this season, they are 4-1 coming into this game. And the old-fashioned way, getting 6.4 yards per carry, running the ball at a 4-3 ratio. Bryce Underwood only has 3 passing touchdowns on the season, and he was supposed to be a hot shot. Now, he looks good. But they've only thrown 3 touchdowns while they have 17 touchdowns on the ground. That doesn't mean, though, that Bryce Underwood can't throw because Alex Orji had 3 passing touchdowns last year through 5 games. Well, if we're being honest, he had all of them in the first game. But this ain't that because Underwood can actually move the ball down the field just fine. And it's not just something that Michigan is depending on early in this kid's career, which is going to allow him to grow and develop. Now, Michigan's physicality, it actually could be too much for USC. But USC's offensive firepower might actually put Michigan in place where they have to play from behind. Like, that is the path for USC to win. And I always like to do this when it comes to games. Like, how many paths to victory does a team have? Is there one path to victory in a team that is completely outmatched? Are there 2? Are there 3? I believe that in this game, USC has multiple paths to victory. They have to put up points. They have to get Michigan to playing from behind, where Michigan, they can grind you out and then in the last couple minutes, find a way to kick a field goal to win. Because if we think about it, right? Because that would actually change if USC can get up Sharon Moore's entire game plan. Because we're looking at a case where Michigan had to get out of that game plan versus Oklahoma, and that was their only loss because Bryce Underwood couldn't beat them at that point in time. Now, Oklahoma's defense is not USC's defense, but USC's quarterback, Jaden Maava, he isn't all that different than Underwood as far as his physical stature and arm strength. But the Trojans, they can light you up with Jacoby Lane if he's healthy, Mekhi Lemon, one of the best wide receivers in college football, and Jaden Maava layers the ball well, but we're going to see if it travels versus the defense as good as Michigan's. And there's a reason, though, that Maava is leading the Big Ten in yards per game, yards per completion, and yards per attempt. Because this is going to be a great test for Michigan's corners, especially freshman Jaden Sanders, who only played 23 snaps against Wisconsin. And then they're going to get Zeke Berry back. But Sanders is still going to have a shot to prove himself against some of the Big Ten's best. So before I forget, I got to make a prediction in this game. Michigan is favored by 2.5. USC is favored by 2.5 points in this game. But This will not be going USC's way. The physicality of Michigan will reign supreme. USC will score this, but this is going to be a game that Michigan controls because they may run the ball 50 times in this game. And if they get over 40 rushes, 43 rushes in this game, oh, this is an absolute L for Michigan. I'm sorry, for USC. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. All right, now we got to get on deeper preview in this game on Unafraid Show, George Wrighster College Football Podcast. We got number 7 Indiana versus number 3 Oregon. So we got a 15-minute preview over there, but here is the condensed version. Both of these teams come in 5-0. Oregon is a 7.5-point favorite in this game. Started out as 10.5. College football game day is in Eugene. This conflicts with the other game that we talked about earlier. This is a 12:30 p.m. kick, 3:30 Eastern on CBS. Resume game for both teams. Number 3 team versus number 7 team. And we're going to find out how for real both of these teams are. And you know, coaches always talk about all the time is coach speak. Your next game is your most important game. I mean, but isn't it literally for both of these teams? Yes, the Penn State game, huge win, everybody's happy. But you got to go do it again. It doesn't matter if you do it once, it's an accident. You do it multiple times, you can actually do it. And Indiana already ran the brakes off of Illinois. And Kurt Cignetti, yes, I heard you people, and I know, I fixed it. I stood in the mirror and said it 20 times in a row. Kurt Cignetti is a phenomenal head coach. I love his story, love the way he's built up himself, the program, and the arrogance and the confidence that he instills in everybody around him. However, there is a difference in Jimmys and Joes in this game. Indiana has some frontline NFL guys. Hemby, some of the wide receivers, the little corner Pons is good. But Oregon has higher level, like frontline elite level NFL guys as well. But then Oregon has more of them. And then the next tier of guys, Oregon's is better. Oregon has dudes, and Indiana has some guys. Some guys, some nice guys. And particularly on the right side of that offensive line, right guard, right tackle are going to be up against this Ducks team. And this is what the game is going to come down to. Which offensive line performs better? Because Indiana has one of the better rush defenses in the entire country. So the question is, can the Ducks run the ball at a high level, which makes this whole offense go, and protect Dante Moore? Because if you protect Dante Moore, he is going to carve Indiana up with Decorian Moore, with Gary Bryant Jr., McClellan, Florida State transfer, the Kenyon Sadiq at tight end, and the plethora of running backs will have a field day if Indiana cannot stop the run game or they cannot get pressure on Dante Moore. Now, on the Indiana side, it is all going to come down to, can they run the football and protect Fernando Mendoza? Because Fernando Mendoza has been in Autzen Stadium before. Now, was it the loudest place that he's ever been? Probably not, because the Ducks won like 40-something points last time. And it was against Cal. It was a little rainy outside, so it is not going to have the same level of intensity that this top 10 matchup with game day and all the pomp and circumstance is going to surround. And one of the things that Dan Lanning has been able to do with his team is to get them to block out all the noise, that the fans aren't playing, nobody else is playing. And also, when Indiana comes in, lock the gates. Lock the gates. Don't let them out. And that's a level of preparedness and confidence that you instill in your team. Because I always talk about the head coaches, that their team takes their personality. If your head coach ain't scared of a damn thing, if he's willing to put in the work, if he's detail-oriented, if he upholds the standard all the time, then that's what your team will do. And I believe that Indiana's Kurt Cignetti, who is, 60-some years old, he still got that energy, that youthful exuberance to do this. So I'm excited to see this game. I am excited to see it. And if you want a deeper preview, go on the channel high rated video, of course, because we're putting out great content here. I believe that the Ducks, that they are favored by 7.5 right now. I am picking this game to be a 38-17 game. They are more than going to cover this game. I anticipate this looking significantly more like the Ohio State Indiana game last year. That there comes a point that no matter how good Indiana is, that where they are building they're still in the process of building a program. That in Oregon is one of the better rosters in college football, and unless they can get turnovers, this is going to be a case of Indiana's going to fight, Oregon's just going to lean until the dam breaks. This is the way this game goes. All right, the next thing that we got to go to, it is the top 25 reveal before we get to the rest of the games. So every single week, I put together my top 25 based upon the 3 most important criteria in all of college football: quality wins, schedule played, and dominance. Those are the things that matter. It don't matter your preseason ranking. I don't care about your recruiting rankings. None of that stuff, because people miss on recruiting rankings, transfer portal, coaching matters, the camaraderie of the team, all of these things all matter. So all I care about is what is on the tape. What have you done? So here is my top 25 reveal for this week, and I'm going to put it up in comparison with the AP poll. This week, I moved Oregon from number 1, Miami to number 1. A little bit had to do with the Penn State game, but also some of this had to do with just the fact that Miami is being extremely dominant, and they deserve to have some credit right now. But I believe the 4 teams, Miami, Oregon, Ohio State, and Oklahoma, are interchangeable right now. And I do believe that out of all these teams, Miami has the best win so far, which is against Notre Dame. Now, if they played Notre Dame now that Notre Dame's playing defense again, and they got things rolling with C.J. Carr, it could be a different result on a neutral field, because that was a 3-point win. But I do believe that Miami warrants significant, praise at this point in time. But, those are the 4 best teams. And then Ole Miss, based upon their resume and the way that they've won games, it is hard to think that this isn't one of the better teams in college football. But that win over LSU, the 24-19 win, I don't give it as much credence as a lot of other people do, because I don't believe that that LSU is some like special world beater team at this point in time. I got them ranked number 15 right now. Now, is their defense really good? Yes, but this offense is putting along. This offense is moving. This team feels a lot like, and I saw a good comparison from Bud Elliott this week. This reminds you a little bit of Michigan last year, except for Michigan was playing with Alex Orji and at quarterback, who didn't have the ability to throw the ball. But Nussmeier, the kid, threw for over 3,000 yards last year. How could we not possibly think that, that this could get worked out and look better at some point in time? So Ole Miss at 5, Indiana 6, deserved it. I'm circling number 7, Texas Tech. Nobody is talking about Texas Tech when everybody should be talking about Texas Tech. This is one of the better defenses in college football. And what they did to Utah, first of all, Utah should still be ranked. But what they did to Utah was a criminal offense. They pulled away at the end, but this was a physical. Utah has one of the best offensive lines in the country. And they were having all the problems with Texas Tech. And then Texas A&M, I have them at 8. I don't believe that they are as good as the ranking suggests right now, but this is what they've earned with a Notre Dame win and with other wins on this schedule. Now, everybody knows how I feel about Alabama. Good football team. I don't believe they are an elite football team at this point in time, because elite football teams bring it every single week, and they don't, miss. And Alabama can be run on some level. Same way with Georgia. Georgia's not elite this year, but could you be? Sure. 11, Notre Dame. And I know that some people are like, George, they got 2 losses. They lost to Texas A&M and they lost to Miami. Yep, yep. The AP poll has them at 5, Texas A&M at 5, and they have Miami at 3. They lost those games by a combined 4 points, and they looked like that they probably should have won the Texas A&M game if it weren't for a holding call at the end of the game. So this Notre Dame team is still one of the best teams in college football. You can book it. They are going to probably win out and get in the college football playoff. All right, then we got Tennessee, Michigan, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's going to drop a couple games. LSU's going to drop another couple games. I'm interested about this number 16 team in Missouri because nobody's talking about them the same way nobody's talking about Texas Tech. Eli Drinkowitz is doing a great job over there. Bo Perbula, who didn't start out as the starting quarterback, but the kid has been phenomenal. And so now we're going to get a chance to see against Alabama which one of these teams is for real. Because if Alabama can bring it again after beating Vandy last week, even though they're much more talented than Vandy, but there was a mental hurdle there on some level. If they can get back up and manage it this week, Lord have mercy, you are going to know at that point in time that Alabama is a national championship contending type team. But if Missouri wins this game, you will not hear Eli Drinkowitz's mouth, boy. I mean, it will not be quiet, and nor should it. People are, excuse me, silent on BYU. I told y'all I'm playing hurt today, so forgive me. Illinois, 18. Oh, George, but Indiana ran over them 63-10. If you watch that game, it got way out of hand. Illinois is not a team that can play from behind, so be it. Utah, Vandy, Iowa State, still a good football team. They lost to Cincinnati last week, and so you're probably wondering, George, how could Cincinnati be ranked behind them? It turned out to be a one-score game, and Iowa State was without 20 players, like 6 starters. So, no, I don't think that Cincinnati's a better team than Iowa State in their body of work. Sorry. The most slept upon team is number 23, the Washington Huskies. And yes, an Oregon Duck alum is saying that. And so you know it has to be true at that point in time if I'm the person over here talking about them. And then Memphis at 25. But Memphis and UNLV, both still alive. I'm just telling you, in the G5 race. And so is USF, but I think Memphis is better, even though they don't have a better quarterback. But still. All right, let's get back to the games. Let's get to this Ohio State game, this Ohio State-Illinois game, because Ohio State is favored by 14.5 points. They are the number 1 team in the nation, facing the number 17 team in the nation. Illinois is 5-1. They beat USC last week. This is a 12 p.m. Eastern time kick, 9 a.m. on Fox, big noon kickoff. This is the first meeting in 8 years. Ohio State has won 9 in a row if you include the vacated win, which of course we do because those count because we saw it happen. I loved what I heard from Ryan Day this week. He is very clear about the rat poison. He is clear that, and he has the cachet as a champion now to say, we haven't done anything yet. Like, I know everybody's happy, but this is how you get beat. He's like, this is how we almost lost last year. So we're not drinking it. So I believe that this team is going to be prepared for Illinois. They're more talented than Illinois. But at the same time, I do believe that Illinois is going to be able to have some level of success in this football game. Some level of success. So I'm going to pick Illinois to stay within this number, within this 14.5. Now, it might be 14 points, but it'll be inside this 14.5. Now, Illinois does not have the same level of athletes, but they are a tough, hard-nosed football team. And the difference is that Indiana got so far away from them so fast. Illinois was not gap sound. They were missing one. Xavier Scott, one of their best DBs. Luke Altmaier had his worst game in a while. And now you're sitting here going up against a juggernaut defense. This team has not allowed over 10 points in 5 games. They've allowed 7 to Texas, 0 to Grambling, 9 to Ohio, 6 to Washington, and 3 to Minnesota. This is incredible defense. They had the number 1 defense in the country last year, and this team actually might be better on defense. Matt Patricia is balling. He's balling his ass off. But the thing I do wonder is if they run into a high-powered offense, how are they going to fare? Because Illinois, they score points, but they're not a high-powered offense. Wisconsin, who Ohio State plays next, not a high-powered offense. Neither is Penn State, Purdue, UCLA. I mean, well, UCLA was versus Penn State, and Rutgers and Michigan. So UCLA and Michigan are probably going to prove the biggest threats offensively to Ohio State. But there is nothing more fun on tape than watching Arvell Reese, their linebacker, though. This kid is spectacular. And if you want more on this game, have a long preview over on Unafraid Show as well, where we dive deeper into the minutia of this. But this is a 14.5-point spread. I'm picking Ohio State to win this game by 14. I'm going to need that hook. I already know I am. But yeah. And big ups on Ryan Day in becoming the winningest coach in college football in terms of winning percentage. And people wanted this dude fired. Who would you replace the dude with? Oh, he can't win. Yeah, but you would have tried to replace him with somebody that couldn't win football games either. All right, next game up. We got Alabama versus Missouri. Alabama is favored by 3.5 points in this game. And this is a 9 a.m. kickoff, 12 p.m. Yeah, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Now, Alabama won this game 34-0 last week. Missouri was having quarterback issues, and Alabama has won 6 straight games in this matchup going back to 1976. Now, Alabama just proved something to itself and its fans last week with the Vandy win. But they were favored to beat Vandy. They were supposed to beat Vandy. They're more talented than Vandy. But Diego Pavia and them boys were talking, just like Thomas Castellanos was. And you absolutely know that somewhere deep down, that inner voice was popping up in Alabama. Was like, are we really done being the bully? And they were like, yep, the answer is no. Now, you get to quiet that voice for one more week. Now, not only that, you get to think happy thoughts about things like Ty Simpson, 77% completion percentage, and 300-yard plus games in your last 4 wins. Or you can spend 10 minutes every day watching a replay of their left tackle, Caden Proctor, run over Georgia defenders on the little screen. Or you can just think about how good your defense will be if Justin Jefferson plays as well as he did against Vanderbilt every single week. But don't daydream about it too much, because you have a road trip this week to Columbia. Alabama fans were 5-0. Missouri has spent the last 2 weeks preparing to host you because they had a bye. And this Tigers offense has been cooking this year, scoring at 7th in the nation, 45 points per game, rushing at nearly 300 yards and 4 touchdowns per game. Ahmad Hardy has been one of the best transfer running backs in America, over 700 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns. Then you got Kevin Coleman Jr. He leads the SEC in receptions with 39, despite Missouri already having their bye week. And then the guy making his offense go didn't even start as the starting quarterback out of camp, and that's Bo Prabula. So picture this. After an entire offseason of people projecting Penn State's Drew Aller to possibly be the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft, how insane would it be to see his 2024 backup standing on the Heisman stage in January repping Missouri, and you got Penn State not going to the college football playoff? What? That would be an amazing turn of events. But if you're Missouri, you're also having to wonder if Eli Drinkowitz, if his agent's phone is blowing up, trying to gauge interest to see if a guy that has had Missouri inside the AP Top 15 3 years in a row for the first time since 1979 to 81, if he's, hey, Eli, would you be willing to go to Florida? Would you be willing to go to Virginia Tech, UCLA? There's going to be people trying to do it. And what happens if Auburn makes a change? You know they're going to be throwing money around. But I told you guys, you want your next Eli Drinkowitz, you want your next Dan Lanning, go to assistant coach. It's going to cost you a lot less money in case it don't work out. But, Who am I? Just a smart guy around here that sees things coming. Um, and this is a game where Alabama is favored by 3.5 points in this game. And I cannot wait to watch this game. This has upset city written all over it. I am taking Missouri plus 3.5 in this game. You can book it, remember it, write it down, take a picture, because this is happening. All right, we got to talk about some teams that people don't want to talk about on the national TV. We got to talk about Arizona State, who is ranked 21st. And they are playing at Utah. And Utah opened up as 4.5-point favorites. It is going to be rainy in this game. Not cold, but in the 60s and raining. This is a night game, Pac-12 after dark. 7:15 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. 10:15 p.m. Eastern. So I know a lot of y'all are not going to get a chance to watch it, but this is a game you need to pay attention to because one of these teams, your team, might be playing in the college football playoff. Now, Arizona State won this game 27-19 last year. They broke a 4-game streak that Utah was winning, including a 55-3 over ASU in 2023. Now, these quarterbacks, you got Devin Dampier over at Utah, transferred from New Mexico. Sam Levitt over at Arizona State, who took Texas down to the wire in the college football playoff. They have 530 rushing yards between these dudes. And Devin Dampier has improved his completion percentage by 15 points over last year and has cut his turnovers in half. And for Sam Levitt, he looks like his wide receiver, Jordan Tyson. If you don't know who this kid is, go look at some mock drafts and then turn on some film. Kid is amazing. And he looks for Jordan Tyson a lot. 39% of all ASU receptions and 81% of all wide receiver receptions go to Jordan Tyson. Now, Utah, on the other hand, 60-40 running back carries between New Mexico transfer, Nakari Rogers, and Wazoo transfer Wayshawn Parker. They're averaging 5.2 yards per carry between the two of them. But ASU's defense is only allowing half of that at 2.6 yards per carry on the season. And Arizona's back, Raleek Brown, he was leading the Big 12 in rushing heading into last week. But then you had Texas Tech and Virginia Tech. They were able to run versus Utah for 173 and 261 yards. Now, ASU's biggest vulnerability has been their red zone offense. And then, and Park, a lot of that is not getting good push up front from their larger D tackles and overloaded boxes. Now, Utah's biggest vulnerability is in the secondary with Nate Ritchie likely out. And then you got Jackson Burney, who has been banged up as well. So that actually could be huge for Jordan Tyson and opportunities for him. But ASU's cornerback, Keith Abney, he has been the best graded cover corner in the Big 12 because him one-on-one versus wide receivers from Utah, Ryan Davis, it should be must-see TV for NFL scouts. Now, Utah defensive end John Henry Daly has a sack and a tackle for loss in every game. And now, is Sam Levitt quick enough to break that streak? Because Utah's lost 5 conference home games in a row. And unfortunately for Arizona State, this will not be 6. The mighty Utah student section is going to be a little too much. And Devin Dampier is going to be able to run around. And this Arizona State offense, if they continue to play like they have the previous weeks, they're going to lose this game. This is a game where they have to get right. So this is what I'm watching. If Arizona State does manage to win this game, you know that they are a legit contender in the Big 12. And they may be able to knock off Texas Tech. I'm just saying. All right, the next game that we got to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. The Georgia Bulldogs head down to Auburn. Now, Georgia has won 8 times in a row in this game. 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. This is their primetime game. Weather should be good. Georgia is a 3.5-point favorite. Now, Gunnar Stockton, Georgia's quarterback, has honestly been relatively pedestrian. Got 6 touchdown passes, 1 interception, 69% completions. But he wasn't intimidated by an SEC road game because Tennessee was his best game so far, and he made the throw to really give his team a chance to win the game on 4th down. Now, Auburn's Jackson Arnold, he has 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, but he has been sacked 14 times in the last 2 games, and most of them are his fault. And then you got his head coach, Hugh Freeze, 5-13 in SEC play. And you had his predecessor, Brian Harsin, got fired after 4-9 in the SEC. See, this is how you know. Everybody trying to steal everybody's head coach. Go get you an assistant coach, man. A lot of these dudes got it figured out, and they understand recruiting better. They understand the moment, and they've been waiting on it, and they hungry. Now, Georgia has not had a wide receiver emerge as their primary target. Ain't no Lad McConkey's walking through that door. But there are 4 guys that have at least 11 receptions. And they need either Kobe Young or Zachariah Branch to step up and make big plays to help Gunnar Stockton out. Now, their running back, one of their running backs, Nate Frazier, he actually came into the season as the expected RB1, but he's seen his workload cut from 13 carries per game over the first 3 weeks to a combined 11 carries over the last 2 games because of the emergence of Chauncey Bowens, who has 32 touches over the last 2 games for a total of 215 yards and a touchdown. Now, in this, Auburn has opportunities for big plays. Cam Coleman, phenomenal wide receiver. He was held to 4 catches for 18 yards against Texas A&M because Jackson Arnold won't throw the football. And he was averaging more than 18 yards per catch before that. And the pieces are here for Auburn defensively. They're 25th in scoring defense and only allowing 2.6 yards per carry. But the DBs, though, they have yet to create a turnover for Auburn. And they've given up some big-time plays. Just saying, despite some great play from their front 7. So Georgia, they're also having a hard time creating turnovers. 1 forced fumble by C.J. Allen through 5 games. Last year, the number was 12 in 14 games. So they know that they need to pick this up. Georgia's favored by 3.5 points. I like Georgia to roll in this game. This is going to be the game that turns people on Hugh Freeze. I'm sorry, but that's just the reality. Next game that we got to talk about. We got to talk about this Florida at Texas A&M game. I am excited about this Florida versus Texas A&M game because Texas A&M opened up 8.5 point favorites, and now it is down to 7.5. It is going to be a warm day, 4 p.m. kick, 7 Eastern on ESPN. Now, Texas A&M's quarterback, Marcel Reed, he's been good, but his stats are definitely inflated by his games against Utah State and UTSA. Now, in the Auburn, Notre Dame, and Mississippi State games combined, his completion percentage is only 55% with 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Because you're hearing Heisman whispers about Reed, but he needs a big performance against a defense like Florida to make them whispers loud and to really make us believe, because these are hollow at this point in time because you got to do it against good competition. Now, Le'Veon Moss, he has thrown up during every single game this season, like to the point where his head coach, Mike Elko, had to comment on it saying that, no, he doesn't have a medical issue. Now, Moss was hurt last year, and he has had to come back as the workhorse, as the running back. But right now, he got 65 carries, 343, and 5 touchdowns. But then you got Reuben Owens, who's been great as a change of pace back as well. He's averaging 7.1 yards per carry. But neither one of these backs catches passes. And Marcel Reed's main wide receiver has been Mario Craver, who leads the SEC in yards. But Casey Concepcion from NC State has over 400 yards as well. Now, if you're Texas A&M, you're hoping that Scooby Williams, your linebacker, is going to be back from injury because he's your best defender. Or I would say Cassius Howell as well, because he's leading the SEC with 7 sacks. Now, on Florida side, this group is young, but everything goes through Jaden Ball and their ability to run the football. He's a sophomore running back. Don't tell me about DJ Lagway, because DJ Lagway has shown us that just having him throw the ball 40, 50 times if Texas A&M gets up by a couple scores, that ain't going to work. It's going to lead to disaster. But if they can run the football, Dallas Wilson, freshman wide receiver who is spectacular. People think he's this year's Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams. Him or Decorian Moore out there at Oregon. He had a foot injury that kept him out until the Texas game, But Wilson was better versus Texas than Jeremiah Smith has been in both contests. 6'4", 111, and 2 touchdowns. Now, Vernell Brown was the leading wide receiver before Wilson returned, so this should actually help free up Brown from extra attention. So, some important facts in this game. Billy Napier is 0-9 against ranked teams on the road. And the last time Texas A&M started out 6-0 was 2016, when they finished 8-5. Now, Texas A&M is favored by 7.5 points. Now, the question is, do we trust Billy Napier in Florida to put multiple games in a row and shut out the fire Billy Napier noise? Or do we trust Texas A&M to uphold their ranking? I believe, because this Florida defense is really good, I am calling for the upset. Florida does it 2 weeks in a row. They did it at home last week. Now they're going to go on the road. And these are the types of wins that keep Billy Napier around. You can't fire the guy that's recruiting well and winning games like this. You just got to try to fill in the rest of the gaps. You can book it. All right, next game up. We got UCLA versus Michigan State. Like, George, why are we talking about this game? Michigan State started out as 8.5-point favorites. Oh, no, they're up to 8.5-point favorites. It started out as 7.5. This is on Big Ten Network, 9 a.m. kickoff. UCLA, big emotional win. Now, are they going to be able to refocus, travel 3 time zones, because this game's in East Lansing, 2 or 3 time zones, whichever one it is, and because Michigan's one of those funny states where it's 2 and 3 in the same state, are they going to be able to do it? Because this is a battle of Southern California quarterbacks. You got Aiden Childs, kid who I like, and great family. Nico Iamaleava, love the kid too. His brother Madden, and a huge volleyball family as well. But the reason why this game matters is because what you're seeing out of Jerry Neuheisel, UCLA's offensive coordinator, their head coach, Tim Skipper, National Coach of the Week. And if he can get this team to refocus and go play to Michigan State, who is not one of the better defenses in the country, boy, oh boy, there's going to be some noise around Jerry Neuheisel and around Tim Skipper. Now, when Jerry Neuheisel got this offense, had a couple days to prepare, homie didn't even know how to use the headset. And they even rehired Noel Mazzoni from the Brett Hundley days to consult, and it worked. And they pulled out what might be ending up the year's most improbable upset. But the question is, do they have enough juice to do it in East Lansing? Because you have, like, both of these kids played in terms of the quarterbacks, Nico and Aiden. They played against each other in high school in 2022. Iamaleava won that one with 4 touchdown passes, while Aiden rushed for 130 and a touchdown. And Childs has actually not used his legs as much as people would have thought in his 17 starts at Michigan State. Now, Childs is coming off a bad game versus Nebraska secondary, but nobody has played well against him this year. But can he rebound and also get Nick Marsh the ball? Because they were getting a little tiffy on the sideline because they were arguing on the sideline in that Nebraska game. Now, for UCLA, though, the Penn State game was the first time Nico Iamaleava played with a lead at any point in time all year. And he looked like a different quarterback. Consistent, loose, commanded the game plan, all of it together. Which Michigan State's defense are we going to get? The one that ran all over USC, could force some turnovers, or the one that kept them in the game on the road versus Nebraska and only gave up 2.2 yards per carry? Because the big difference between Iamaleava's elusiveness and Dylan Raiola's is light years away. And injuries are piling up for Michigan State. They just lost their linebacker Brady Pretzliff 2 weeks ago. And then Alinu Lafele, their defensive lineman, this week. I am calling for UCLA back-to-back wins. You can book it, remember it, write it down, take a picture, and get excited about it. Now, the next game up, we got Nebraska at Maryland. Nebraska at Maryland. Nebraska opened as a 6.5-point favorite in this game. And no, excuse me, opened at 5.5, and now it's at 6.5. This is a 12:30 kick, 3:30 Eastern time, Big Ten Network, and they've played 3 times. And Maryland's only win was a 13-10 win in 2023. Now, you got a guy who's in the NFL now. When he was in college, Shedeur Sanders. He was accused of taking sacks to protect his completion percentage. Now it is time to have that conversation about Dylan Raiola, because Dylan Raiola has 74 completion percentage against against 3 power 4 opponents in terms of who Nebraska has played this year. But he's also taken 15 sacks. And just because you're big enough to take these sacks doesn't mean that you should, because long down and distance will eventually come back to haunt Nebraska. And then you got Maryland. They've ridden stout first half defense. It's been good to a 4-1 record. They're only allowing 10 points this season in the opening half and not allowing a first half touchdown since the opener against FAU. And they stoned Washington for basically 3 quarters, then gave it up in the fourth. And where they gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter and didn't score any. That ain't going to cut it. But Maryland's quarterback, Malik Washington, kid has lived up to the hype of being 247's number 5 quarterback coming into 2025. Elite size, very common with Dylan Raiola, but he don't hold on to the ball. He has 60% completion percentage on the year and only been sacked once. Now, both of these quarterbacks, Washington and Raiola, have only had 2 turnovers in terms of interceptions this year. That's it. So, but Maryland's key to success has been this defensive lineman getting in the backfield, because they have 22 combined tackles for loss in 5 games and 13.5 sacks. And when somebody does get past Maryland's front, they have the Big Ten leading tackler, Daniel Wingate, waiting. Now, as a big challenge of Maryland's penetration will be for a quarterback, well, it'll be in their favor. A quarterback that holds on to the ball like Raiola, because Nebraska's pass defense has been the most stingy in America this year. So Malik Washington is going to have to pick and choose his spots. And if he cannot turn the ball over, I like this to be Nebraska's second loss of the season. I believe that Maryland is going to be upset with the way that they closed out versus Washington last week, and that they are going to find a way to do a better job. All right, there's another big game in the SEC this week. You have South Carolina at LSU. Now, this game means everything to both of these teams. Everything. Because you got LSU, who already dropped their last game to Ole Miss. Their offense is reeling. And then you got South Carolina, who has already dropped 2 games to Vanderbilt and then to Missouri. Now, they blamed it on Lenora Sellers not being healthy. And in their Kentucky game, which was their last game, Lenora Sellers they won 35-13. Lenora Sellers was only 11 for 14 for 153 yards. It was Kentucky's offense that was so brutal, turning the ball over, creating short fields, that South Carolina's offense didn't really even have to do much. So when we're looking at this game against LSU, LSU is supposed to win this game. Like, everything about them says that this is a game that they are supposed to win. So LSU is a 9.5-point favorite in this game. They will get nowhere close to that. Nowhere close to that. LSU will win this football game. But this 9.5 points, way too much. South Carolina plus 9.5. Remember it, write it down, take a picture. So, and those are the games that we're picking for this week. We're also going to be taking a peek at this Notre Dame NC State game. I believe Notre Dame is going to run all over NC State. This NC State, and I know that Dave Doeren fans are going to be upset because they feel like that they should be further along, but this is a bad time to be playing Notre Dame. They are 23.5-point favorites in this game. And honestly, they just might cover against a 4-2 team. A 4-2 team. But this team also lost to Duke and Virginia Tech. So, it is what it is. But you guys, though, continue to watch George Wrighster's College Football Podcast. Make sure that you like, subscribe, get notifications, tell a friend about the show, and most importantly, share and come back on Saturday after the game. I will have insights from the sideline, Oregon versus Indiana as well. Peace out.